I don't know.
Okay, ready to rock. Whenever you are, Brad.
We're good, Kevin.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentle drunks. My name is Kevin Olson. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I'd like to welcome you all to the fourth dimension. Big book study, that is. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here. And we're going to have a great night. I never feel more alive than when I am sharing the miracle of recovery and God's message of recovery and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that I discovered in a book called Alcoholics Anonymous that we're going to share tonight. And I look forward to going through this. As we always do, let's kick off with the set-aside prayer. It goes a little something like this. Sing along if you know the words. God, please help me to set aside everything I think I know about you, about me, about my fellow man, about the 12 steps. And please allow me to gain a fresh new vision, perspective, and understanding of what you, what me, what my fellow man, and the 12 steps are all about. Amen. And as this is the fourth dimension big book study, I always like to read the two parts of our book that refer to the fourth dimension. So first on page 8, Bill Wilson writes, I was soon to be catapulted into what I like to call the fourth dimension of existence. I was to know happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes. And then on page 25, which incidentally is my favorite page in the big book, Bill Wilson writes that we have found much of heaven and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. So we're going to be catapulted. We're going to be rocketed. And for those who will, for the sake of tradition and custom of the fourth dimension big book study, everyone please put one hand up like this. And everybody please put another hand up like this. And everybody go, oh, yeah. I love it. I never get tired of that. I never get tired of that. We absolutely insist on enjoying life in Alcoholics Anonymous. We are not a glum lot, and let's have some fun tonight. I love this program. I love Alcoholics Anonymous with all my heart, and I'm very happy to be here and have an opportunity and a chance to share this beautiful program that changed my life and gave me life, really. I won't say that Alcoholics Anonymous gave me back life. I did not bring a life to Alcoholics Anonymous that I wanted to have. I needed a new life, and thank God Alcoholics Anonymous has given me just that. And nothing could be more appropriate than step 9 when I'm speaking about that. We are on step 9 tonight. And I can't tell you what a transformative experience, a miraculous experience it was for me going through step 9 and learning that I could actually change my life, that I could actually clean up the mess that I was in. One of the ways that I think we talked about it just the other, no, I was talking with someone else about this. When I'm drinking, it's like I'm driving, 100 miles an hour down the road in a station wagon. And I'm accumulating all this garbage and I'm just throwing it behind me, 100 miles an hour down the road as fast as I can. And I come to AA and I get sober and I slam on the brakes. And what happens to all that garbage that I've been accumulating? I'm sitting right in the middle of it, okay? And I am surrounded by this mess. I remember we had a person who came to Primary Purpose Group one time, and she wasn't ready to introduce herself as an alcoholic. She just said, my name is Kathy or whatever it was, and I'm a hot mess, right? And everyone laughed and whatever. But the point that was made that night was that Alcoholics Anonymous, we all bring a mess to AA. Our life is a mess. Our problems have piled up on us and become astonishingly difficult to solve when we get to AA. And AA does not teach me how to stay sober and live in the mess. Alcoholics Anonymous has given me an opportunity to actually clean it up. And where else in life do you get an opportunity like that? That's such a novel idea. They actually made a television sitcom about it. It was called My Name is Earl. You remember that? That this guy Earl was going back and cleaning up all the stuff that he'd done. We get to do that in AA. We have an opportunity to clean up the wreckage of our past. And I think one of the primary reasons this work is so important and why it's so transformational in our spiritual awakening and our relationship with God is because when I go through that cycle, well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful, the firm resolution not to drink again, I am then confronted with the guilt and the regret and the shame and the restlessness, irritability, and discontent of everything that I did the last time that I drank and everyone that I've hurt, and on and on and on. And most of us have a lifetime of that stuff piled up when we get here. As I begin to clean that up, suddenly sobriety becomes a lot more comfortable. Okay. Every time I drank, I was looking to get a sense of ease and comfort. And what I have found in AA is a way to feel easy and comfortable in sobriety. And I think that much more than step 5, step 9 is such a massive part of me feeling okay with just being who I am, where I am. It's a remarkably very, very, very spiritual step, because it removes from me the things Bill Wilson said, the worldly clamors within myself that are blotting out the sense of the presence of God. Our book says that men and women are born with an innate sense of God deep down within. Deep down within, every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It may be obscured by pomp, by calamity, and by worship of other things. And step 9 allows us to clean up some of the calamity, to clean up, get right-sized about some of the pomp, okay? Another thing that step 9 does is gives me a much better understanding and a much better lens into steps 6 and 7. You'll remember a couple of weeks ago, we talked about defects of character, and I said that I have not made a lot of progress in my defects of character and having God remove my defects of character by drilling down into steps 6 and 7 with a lot of emphasis. For me, there is a lot more progress that I make in my defects of character and the removal of my defects of character through God's grace by doing the rest of these steps. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that tonight when we go through exactly how to do a step 9. So we're going to read the book tonight. Brad here is our reader. Thank you, Brad. We're going to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for helping us out. So we are going to be on page 77, I believe, is where we left off last week. Under no condition do we criticize such a person or argue. Let's actually start at the paragraph in the middle of page 77. So what I'd like to do tonight with you guys is we're going to read through step 9, all of all of it in our book, and then I would like to share with you and to teach you what used to be a four question direction that I was given in how we make amends. There used to be 4 questions, and recently I've added a 5th question that I think is very, very important and meaningful. And we'll talk a little bit about how to actually tactically make an amend. What I'm going to share later tonight is not necessarily in the book. It's just like we did with step 8 last week. This is just a tried and true, battle-tested method of doing a step 9, and it simplified it for me when I did it. I've used this method many, many times. The other thing that's nice about this is it's easily replicatable for when we start to sponsor people of our own and take them through an amends process. It's easy to teach this to others as well. So with that said, guys, page 77, we'll start at, we don't use this as an excuse for shying away, and let's get into it.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Solito, recovered alcoholic.
Hi, Brad.
We don't use, Hey, we don't use this as an excuse for shying away from the subject of God. When it will serve any good purpose, we are willing to announce our convictions with tact and common sense. The question of how to approach the man we hated will arise. It may be he has done us more harm than we have done him, and though we may have acquired a better attitude toward him, we are still not too keen about admitting our faults. Nevertheless, with the person we dislike, we take the bit in our teeth. It is harder to go to an enemy than to a friend, but we find it much more beneficial to us. We go to him in a helpful and forgiving spirit, confessing our former ill feeling and expressing our regret. Under no condition do we criticize such a person or argue. Simply, we tell him that we will never get over our drinking until we have done our utmost to straighten out the past. We are there to sweep off our side of the street, realizing that nothing worthwhile can be accomplished until we do so. Never trying to tell him what he should do. His faults are not discussed. We stick to our own. If our manner is calm, frank, and open, we'll be gratified with the result. In 9 cases out of 10, the unexpected happens. Sometimes the man we are calling upon admits his own fault, so feuds of years standing melt away in an hour. Rarely do we fail to make satisfactory progress. Our former enemies sometimes praise what we are doing and wish us well. Occasionally, they will offer assistance. It should not matter, however, if someone does throw us out of his office. We have made our demonstration, done our part. It's water over the dam. Most alcoholics owe money. We
Okay,
do
so
not
there
dodge.
are
Yeah,
so in that. Sorry, thank you, Brad.
that's okay.
Within step 9, there are some very specific directions about money. Then there's going to be specific directions about legal or criminal matters. There's going to be specific directions about relationships and sexual amends that we may owe. And then there's going to be specific direction about family or home matters. And I'll indicate to you exactly where those start in the book. But first, we're going to start off with money is the first thing we're going to talk about. It says most alcoholics owe money.
Most alcoholics owe money. We do not dodge our creditors. Telling them what we are trying to do, we make no bones about our drinking. They usually know it anyway, whether we think so or not. Nor are we afraid of disclosing our alcoholism on the theory it may cause financial harm. Approached in this way, the most ruthless creditor will sometimes surprise us. Arranging the best deal we can, we let these people know we are sorry. Our drinking has made us slow to pay. We must lose our fear of creditors no matter how far we have gone, or how far we have to go. For we are liable to drink if we are afraid to face them. Perhaps we have committed a
Okay,
criminal
so
offense.
so
Oh,
sorry, Brad. I'll pause this there. That's how important this deal with money and owing money and creditors and debt is. Okay, it says we are liable to drink if we are afraid to face them. Okay, there are only 3 places in the book where it says if we get this wrong, we're going to drink again. The first is in terms of our sexual relationships. If we continue to harm people with our sexual relationships, our book says on page 69 and page 70 that we are sure to drink again. Okay. Uh, it also in step 4 indicates that if we are short on anything in our step 4, if we leave anything out purposely in our step 5, we're going to drink again. And then this is the other warning. If I am living in fear of creditors, which I have in my life, believe me, okay, we are liable to drink again. And I know that right now there are people here on this call living in fear of the debt that you are in. I know it because this is Alcoholics Anonymous. Most alcoholics owe money. That's what it said, okay? And some of you have had a chance to clean that up, and some of you have not. And some of you may have cleaned it up at one point, and now you may be decades sober and have accumulated an entirely new set of debt, okay, in sobriety. I understand, okay? And I want you to know that there is a way out. I think I talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about making financial notes in our step 8. When I got sober, I owed $42,000 in 2 unsecured credit cards at 19% compound interest. And at that time, I was making $35,000 per year. Okay. Now, I'm no accountant. Okay. But it seems to me that was not going to be a situation that I was going to be able to get out of. Okay. And I really only saw one solution to my debt situation on my own before I shared this with anyone. And that solution, the only way out I could see was to commit suicide. That was it. Apparently, I thought that my life was was only worth $42,000 because I lived in such absolute chronic fear. Now, it seems silly to me today, looking back. $42,000, I'm grateful to say, you know, doesn't seem as astronomical an amount. But at that time in my life, it might have well as been $42 million. There was no way out that I could see. And if you're here and you're suffering behind a significant debt load, I understand. That was preying on my mind like a mantis, day and in and day out. I had nightmares about it. And I was getting calls from creditors like 3 times a day. The credit card companies were calling me 3 times a day. And one of the first things I had to do was just start taking those phone calls. Okay. They love it when you just answer the phone and talk to them and tell them the truth. What they don't like is when we dodge them. What they don't like is when we just let it go to voicemail, or this is going to date me a little bit, but most of us know about that pile of envelopes that just sits on the top of the fridge that just gets unopened, and you can't touch it, you can't go near it because you're not sure what's in there, but you know it's not good. You can't open any of those because you never know what's going to jump out of there at you. Okay, so we just put it away. We dodge, dodge, dodge. I had to start getting honest about it. I had to start facing the fear. Step 9 at the beginning of step 12 says, I might not have this in the right order, but it says courage, prudence, patience, and a careful sense of timing are what are required for us to do step 9. And in the case of debt, it takes courage to answer the phone and tell them the truth about what's going on with our sponsor's help on exactly what to say. Okay. To start opening those envelopes and getting honest about it. And for me, I needed to declare, it's not quite bankruptcy, but it's called a consumer proposal. And that's what I did. And this consumer proposal allowed me to consolidate all of my debt, and it took the interest off and allowed me to make payments over time. Okay. And it was one of the best things I ever did in my life. But I will tell you, to this day, I will never forget going into the fellow's office. There was one kind of preliminary call that we had where he said, and I've sent many sponsees to him since. Okay. Many sponsees to this guy. And he does one of 3 things. And I presume a bankruptcy trustee that any of you will go see would do the same thing. To some of my sponsees, he has said, here's how much money you're making, and here's how much you owe. Your problem is you don't need to declare bankruptcy or anything else. You just need to start paying your bills. Okay? He'll look at the ratio. How much are you making and how much do you owe? And he'll figure that out. In my case, he took a look at how much I was making, and he took a look at how much I owed, and he said, no, consumer proposal is the right fit for you. We renegotiate the terms. $42,000 went down to $25,000. They took the interest off, and I was able to make $200 a month payments for the next 6 years or however long it was, and I paid that off. And yes, I got what's called an R7 credit rating, and I couldn't have a credit card for a long time, but even while I was making the payments, I was already free. You know what I mean? Having no credit card, that's a small price to pay for not having to live in absolute agony behind all this for years. Okay. I was free as I was paying it down, and I cried like a baby the night It happened as God would have it. The last day I made the last payment on my consumer proposal was also a Wednesday night at Primary Purpose Group. And I cannot tell you the spiritual freedom that I felt as and feeling like I had finally become a man who was worthy of respect because of I faced this and cleaned it up. What an incredible story. And can you understand how that not having that on my mind left more room for God, more room for spiritual growth and spiritual seeking because I wasn't living in terror behind this thing. Now, the third thing that he has said to some of my sponsees is he said, here's how much you're making, and here's how much you owe. You're going to declare just a straight bankruptcy. Okay. Bottom line is courage. I had to face my creditors. I had to start opening the envelopes. I had to start being honest and genuine about what was going on and honest with my sponsor about it. I had to write it all down in a step 8. And then I needed to start taking action on making those amends to creditors. And it was not easy, but it was nothing in the spiritual life is ever easy. The hard thing to do and the right thing to do and the easy thing to do are never the same thing. Okay, it was hard, and it was the day I went in with all of my receipts and all the stuff and had to sit down with this guy and put it all out, the student loans and the taxes and everything. It felt very, very uh, invasive. It felt like a root canal is what it felt like. Okay. But I had to set it all out. And then that stuff dies in the light, man. Okay. Solitary self appraisal is insufficient. When it's just up here, I'm dying. When I put it all out there, suddenly as I was able to experience some freedom. Okay. And if you are here and want to talk to me more about that because you're in the same boat, I'm more than happy to sit and talk with anyone about what I've done. As I said, I've sent many sponsees to this guy, and he is a gentleman, and he does not shame us, he doesn't belittle us, he doesn't hurt our feelings. We're not in trouble, and it's not unusual. A lot of people do this stuff all the time in life, man. That's why bankruptcy trustees exist. Okay, so we can start to clean it up. Back to you, Brad. Now we are in the part of the book that is going to talk to us about legal situations. And my sponsor used to say there is not a topic or an issue that we can have in our life that is not addressed in the big book, where the big book does not give us direction specifically for the exact situation that we're going through ourselves. If I'm willing to read it and think about it with an open mind. Now we're going to talk about, for any of us who have legal issues or any type of criminal offenses or so on. We're going to talk now in the book about how we are going to deal with that. Back to you, Brad.
Perhaps we have committed a criminal offense which might land us in jail if it were known to the authorities. We may be short in our accounts and unable to make good. We have already admitted this in confidence to another person, but we are sure we would be imprisoned or lose our job if it were known. Maybe it's only a petty offense such as padding the expense account. Most of us have done that sort of thing. Maybe we are divorced and have remarried but haven't kept up the alimony to number one. She is indignant about it and has a warrant out for our arrest. That's a common form of trouble, too. Although these reparations take innumerable forms, there are some general principles which we find guiding. Reminding ourselves that we have decided to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience, we ask that we be given strength and direction to do the right thing, no matter what the personal consequences may be. We may lose our position or reputation or face jail, but we are willing. We have to be. We must not shrink at anything. Usually, however, other people are involved. Therefore, we are not to be the hasty and foolish martyr who would needlessly sacrifice others to save himself from the alcoholic pit. A man we know had remarried. Because of resentment and drinking, he had not paid alimony to his first wife. She was furious. She went to court and got an order for his arrest. He had commenced our way of life, had secured a position, and was getting his head above water. It would have been impressive heroics if he had walked up to the judge and said, "Here I am." We thought he ought to be willing to do that if necessary, but if he were in jail, he could provide nothing for either family. We suggested he write his first wife, admitting his faults and asking for forgiveness. He did, and also sent a small amount of money. He told her what he would try to do in the future. He said he was perfectly willing to go to jail if she insisted. Of course, she did not, and the whole situation has long since been adjusted.
So one of
We,
it's a good comment here that he showed up, telling her what he wanted to do. He told her what he would try to do in the future, and he also had a small amount of money. And one of the things I've been taught is if we're going to make amends to someone that we owe money to, I need to show up with some small amount of money and discuss the payment terms I'm going to make with them, not just to show up with an IOU and say, that's as good as money. Okay, we need to have money with us when we go to make that amend. And by the way, we're not uh, we're not giving them our money when we do a step 9. We're giving them back their money is what I'm doing. Okay. That's what I need to do. So whatever the amend is, and remember we talked about this last week a little bit as well. When we make amends, we, as much as possible, when we're making direct amends, we're going to make direct amends face to face, eyeball to eyeball, as my sponsor would say, as much as I can. And if I owe that person money, I need to show up with some amount of money in my hand. Now, there will be some question when I work through this with a sponsor, which also I guess I should comment on. I presume by this point in the steps, we have a sponsor. If not, this is a big red flag. Do not engage in step 9 if I don't have a sponsor. Do not do it. Okay? Especially one sponsor who knows the whole story because they have listened to my step 5 and they have helped me with my step 8. And now they understand all of the intricacies and all of the nuances of all the relationships in my life, such as they are, and can then help guide me through step 9. I cannot underscore how important this is. Do not do step 9 if you don't have a sponsor, period. Okay. In particular, a sponsor, I believe, that has listened to our 5th step and has helped us with our step 8. They are in a much better position. Remember, we've said solitary self-appraisal is insufficient. My perception of my life is terrible. My judgment about my life is terrible. And a sponsor's perception and judgment about my life is infinitely better than my own because they are not me, because they are not deluded by all of the emotions and rationalizations and justifications that I come out with about why things are the way they are. They're able to cut through the nonsense and give me direction and tell me what I need to do. That's what my sponsor, Alan, does for me. And I think it's vitally important. Now, one of the things where I live in Calgary, there's this concept of pillars, that I have multiple pillars in my recovery. Okay. And to me, that sounds a lot like just having multiple different sponsors. And the beautiful thing about having multiple sponsors is that I can make sure each one of them knows a little piece of the story. Okay. And if I don't like the story that one of them is giving me back, I can just go ask someone else until I get the answer that I want. And plus, I'm afraid of what this one guy is going to think if I tell him the truth about what's going on. So I'm going to go tell this other person, this guy's not going to know anything. Not nearly as effective for me as when I share all of myself with one person, the good, the bad, and the very ugly. And believe me, brothers and sisters, I have had ugly, ugly things in my life that I was very embarrassed and ashamed of, and humiliation and all that stuff. Okay. And I'll tell you, it's never that big a deal to my sponsor, as big a deal as I think it's going to be. Okay. And they can therefore give me solid direction because they know the beginning, the middle, and the end. Then they can give me right direction instead of me playing musical pillars until I get the answer that I want and the direction that sounds good to me. Okay. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah. Yeah. Thumbs up? Yeah? All right. Okay. Okay, Brad, back to you.
Before taking drastic action which might implicate other people, we secure their consent. If we have obtained permission, have consulted with others, asked God to help, and the drastic step is indicated, we must not shrink. This brings to mind a story about one of our friends. While drinking, he accepted a sum of money from a bitterly hated business rival, giving him no receipt for it. He subsequently denied having received the money and used the incident as a basis for discrediting the man. He thus used his own wrongdoing as a means of destroying the reputation of another. In fact, his rival was ruined. He felt that he had done a wrong he could not possibly make right. If he opened that old affair, he was afraid it would destroy the reputation of his partner, disgrace his family, and take away his means of livelihood. What right had he to involve those dependent upon him? How could he possibly make a public statement exonerating his rival? After consulting with his wife and partner, he came to the conclusion that it was better to take those risks than to stand before his creator guilty of such ruinous slander. He saw that he had to place the outcome in God's hands, or he would soon start drinking again, and all would be lost anyhow. He attended church for the first time in many years. After the sermon, he quietly got up and made an explanation. His action met widespread approval, and today he is one of the most trusted citizens of his town. This all happened years ago.
Okay, so guys, when it says after consulting with his, when it says after
you should totally invent an unbreakable beaker.
oh, sorry, someone, there we
Oh,
go.
here you go.
Okay, where it says after consulting with his wife and partner, he came to the conclusion it was better. I want you to add sponsor there. Okay, after consulting with his sponsor. Okay, key. And in 1939, April, when the book went out, it may be that this fellow was just one man with a book in his hand, and there were no other members of AA around for him to consult with. So he had to consult with his wife and his partner, just like in step 5, it says, do your step 5 with your doctor or do your step 5 with your wife or whoever. No, today we need to consult with our sponsor before going ahead and doing something like that. Okay? Now is the part in our book that talks about sexual relationships and sexual misconduct that we may have engaged in, infidelity, cheating, so on and so forth. If we have things like that in our sex conduct inventory and we have amends that we need to make, what do we do about that? And I'm going to share a couple things that I believe as well. So Brad, and my belief, if I can say, is based on my experience, both in my own life and my experience sponsoring dozens and hundreds at this point of people through these steps, and I've heard almost everything I'm sure there is to hear in terms of sex conduct, and walked many, 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 many men through an amends process. So I'll share just a couple insights with you. Brad, back to you.
The chances are that we have domestic troubles. Perhaps we are mixed up with women in a fashion we wouldn't care to have advertised. We doubt if, in this respect, alcoholics are fundamentally much worse than other people. But drinking does complicate sex relations in the home. After a few years with an alcoholic, a wife gets worn out, resentful, and uncommunicative. How could she be anything else? The husband begins to feel lonely, sorry for himself. He commences to look around in the nightclubs or their equivalent for something besides liquor. Perhaps he is having a secret and exciting affair with the girl who understands. In fairness, we must say that she may understand, but what are we going to do about a thing like that? A man so involved often feels very remorseful at times, especially if he is married to a loyal and courageous girl who has literally gone through hell for him. Whatever the situation, we usually have to do something about it. If we are sure our wife does not know, should we tell her? Not always, we think. If she knows in a general way that we have been wild, should we tell her in detail? Undoubtedly, we should admit our fault. She may insist on knowing all the particulars. She'll want to know who the woman is and where she is. We feel we ought to say to her that we have no right to involve another person. We are sorry for what we have done, and God willing, it shall not be repeated. More than that, we cannot do. We have no right to go further. Though there may be justifiable exceptions, and though we wish to lay down no rule of any sort, we have often found this the best course to take. Our design for living is not a one-way street. It is as good for the wife as for the husband. If we can forget, so can she. It is better, however, that one does not needlessly name a person upon whom she can vent jealousy. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. No outsider can appraise such an intimate situation. It may be that both will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep it always in sight that we are dealing with that most terrible human emotion, jealousy. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on flank rather than risk a face-to-face combat. If we have no such complication, there's
Oh,
plenty we should
hang on, Brad. That's
stop there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
that brings us to the end of what Bill is talking about in terms of sexual and relationship situations. And really, what we're talking about here is infidelity, infidelity that may have occurred while one of your sponsees has been drinking and things that went on. Now, remember, I've talked about when we talked about sex conduct in step 4. This is an area where uh, it can sometimes be just a step 6 and 7 problem, or sometimes this needs to be addressed with our sponsees in AA in a new fellowship. Okay. And we need to direct them towards Sex Addicts Anonymous, Sexaholics Anonymous, and this has become a step 1 problem. And step 1 in those fellowships. And one of the ways to gauge that is to see this behavior that we're seeing. Was it a one-time thing, or was there a pattern to it? Is there a long-term attempts that I'm never going to do that again, and then they find themselves doing it again? Is this continuing on into their sobriety? Was this a one-time fling that happened when a guy was drinking in Puerto Vallarta one time, or is this pathological? Is this a compulsion that we're seeing? Okay, where again and again this fella is saying, I'm not going to cheat on my wife anymore, or my partner, or I'm not going to use that stuff online anymore, or whatever it is, and then finding themselves a day, a week, a month later doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, it's important to understand, and it's important to define our terms in what we're thinking about. I also, I didn't talk about this the other day in terms of guys always want to know, when can I make amends to my ex-girlfriend? That it's like it's always the first thing guys want to do is they want to go make amends to their ex, right? With super pure motives, I'm sure. Okay. And what I believe and what I've been taught is that never is the answer. Never. My default answer in terms of making amends to an ex-partner or an ex-girlfriend, an ex-relationship like that is never. Okay. They're fine and they're on living their life now. Me going back and showing up in all my spiritual glory to push myself back in their life, even if just for a moment to talk about how I harmed them, is not going to be of love and service to that person. It is going to end up causing more harm and more hurt to that person. And I need to just leave those people alone. And I think there is no rule that can be laid down here, though. I think that's the most important line in what we just read. Is it says, though we wish to lay down no rule of any sort, we usually find this is the best course to take. There's no rules here. Okay. And as much as I would love to give y'all one size fits all, every pattern of sexual misdeed or misconduct or infidelity or whatever needs to be treated exactly this way and exactly the same, is not the case. Okay. And we need to consult others, I think, sometimes. So certain amends, if I don't know what to do with a sponsee, I'll take it to Alan. And if Alan may take it to Matt, his sponsor today, okay? And we may need to talk at length and in depth about what the right thing to do is in each situation. And at the, we read, it says, we pray for the strength and direction to do the right thing, no matter what the personal consequences may be. Okay. And so we need to take this stuff into prayer. We need to ask ourselves in two-way prayer, as some people are doing today a lot in AA. How can I get divine intuitive inspiration on what I need to do in each specific situation, and then take that to my sponsor and perhaps my sponsor's sponsor and my sponsor's sponsor's sponsor, okay, to get the right thought in the right direction. And this may be a timing thing as well. Yes, we need to talk about it, but right now, today is not the right time. Let's wait until maybe you get a year of sobriety under your belt first before we go and engage in these things. And that may be with any amend, okay? Prudence. Sometimes prudence is the thing. No, we're not going to go and engage with those people and go make amends to all our girlfriends that we cheated on and let them know how we did that. No is the answer to that question, okay? And one of the things, guys, is that I'm going to talk about this when we get to how to do a step 9 tactically. Exactly how do we do a step 9? We're going to talk about direct amends versus indirect amends as well. Okay. In certain cases, there are direct amends I can make, and in other situations, there may be other indirect amends. Okay. So when it says this problem may be attacked on the flank rather than a face-to-face combat, what that means is that rather than attacking right through the front door, we're going to find another way to address it. Okay. And sometimes those other ways to address it are what I call indirect amends. Okay. Not just living amends. That's something different, and I kind of think a throwaway idea. Okay. We're going to find a different way to make an indirect amend for this situation. Okay, now is the part in the book that's going to talk about what we do in our family, what we do in our home life as we live this way of life. Okay, Brad, back to you.
If we have no such complication, there is plenty we should do at home. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs to do is keep sober. Certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he is yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents whom for years he has so shockingly treated. Passing all understanding is the patience mothers and wives have had with alcoholics. Had this not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted, selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. He is like the farmer who came up out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" Yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that their own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. The
You know,
spiritual
guys,
life is
there was a. I'm just going to talk about this very quickly because I want to make sure we end at 7 p.m. There was a time where I would have gotten up on a table and jump up and down, shake my fist in the air, and say, "Man is unthinking when he says sobriety is enough." Okay, because I used to hear that kind of thing in meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous all the time. And once again, I will say that not everything I hear in a meeting of AA necessarily has anything to do with the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. So when people say, just don't drink, even if your ass falls off, just don't drink, even if you go to meetings, okay, just don't drink in 90 meetings in 90 days, just don't drink, sobriety is enough. I don't want to get into a quarrel with anyone, okay? But all I need to do is align what they're saying and see if it reconciles with what our book says, and see if that makes any sense, and see if it is actually AA or not. Because the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, in its perfection, is contained in one place and one place only, and that is in this book. And this book says, we feel a man is unthinking when he says sobriety is enough. Okay? It is not. There is a long period of reconstruction ahead. Why? Because if I'm living with the guilt and the shame and the remorse of the deconstruction that I've created in my family, I'm going to drink again without question. Okay? I cannot live with that type of guilt and turmoil and the pain that I've caused other people that they're very happy to let me know as well, by the way, that I've caused. There's no way to live in that type of turmoil and stay sober. Can't do it. Can't do it. Okay? I know. I remember I went to an Al-Anon meeting one time, and this mom, I spoke at the meeting, and then afterwards it was like a Q&A. And this one mom said, does my daughter know how much she's hurting me when she does these things? And I had to think about it. I had to think about my own mom. Did I know that I was hurting my mom? And the answer is yeah, absolutely. I knew that I was hurting my mom. I knew it. But the feeling and the guilt and the shame and the remorse that I felt for knowing that I hurt my mom did not make me want to get sober. That made me want to drink into oblivion and make that go away more than anything. And this is what people don't understand about the alcoholic condition. Heavy drinkers say, man, I hurt my mom. I don't want to drink anymore. I think I hurt my mom. I'm going to go kill myself with a bottle of vodka tonight. You know? Yeah, I see nodding heads. Okay. These are my alcoholic people. You get it. In order for me to stay sober, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. Sobriety is not enough. We feel a man is unthinking when he says sobriety is enough. I talked about that way longer than I thought I was going to. So let's keep going.
The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. And there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We do not crawl before anyone.
And in terms
If
of that, as far as that goes, in step 8, I've told you all there's 2 amends that I have not yet been able to make, no matter how I've tried. And I love the idea that we keep our step 8 list. I just heard this from my friend Fernando in LA a little while ago. He keeps that step 8 list and he looks at it every I think he said once a quarter. So every 3 months he looks at that step 8 list and says, is there anything more I can do? Is there anything else I need to clean up? Man, I love that discipline. I love that idea. But there are some things we may not be able to clean up. You ask me, and Fernando asked himself, if you ask me, would I go make amends to that family if I could right now? The family whose basement I lived in when I was in university. If I could find them, would I make amends to them? No question. I would love to. Frankly, I would love to. No idea. I can't even remember their name. I don't know where they are, so on and so forth. So that's it. We don't delay if it can be avoided, but we need to make sure we're always ready and willing. Okay, we're going to read through the promises. On another day, I might, do a big deep dive on the promises and what they all mean and how they came true for me and all that stuff. But we're down to, we've got about 10 minutes left to go, and I want to make sure that we have lots of time to talk about the step 9 questions. So my man Brad's going to rip through the promises, and then I want to share with you guys how we execute on a step 9, tactically how we make a step 9. Okay, Brad, back to you.
If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We'll suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
The only thing I want to say about that is I know most people will chant at the end of meetings, we think not. And I like to chant, if we work for them. Okay. So I think that's the most important thing, as always in AA. What I do in AA is what's important. Okay, so step 9, these are the step 9 questions. This is the process. You guys can see my screen right now? Yeah? Okay, so these are the step 9 questions, or tactically how I I do with step 9. So number 1, again, we're doing these face to face as much as is possible. We talked about it last week that there may be times where, from a timing perspective, it's essential that we do something over Zoom if we can, on a phone call if required. A letter, a handwritten letter, maybe to set up another amend down the road is fine. I don't think that there would ever be a case where it would be appropriate to text message a step 9 amend to someone, or to Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook Messenger an actual amend to someone. However, those mediums may be used to set up the amend, to schedule an amend, to ask for the opportunity to make an amend. And that brings us to question number 1. So why am I here? As you may know, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's necessary for me as part of our program to make amends to people that I've harmed. And I believe that you are one of those people that I have harmed, and I'd like an opportunity to sit down and to talk to you about that and potentially make an amend. Okay. So now I wrote anonymity there. Why did I write that? Because we don't have to disclose our anonymity. We don't have to disclose I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous if it is not indicated that, for a professional reason or anything like that, that I need to do that I have to disclose to someone that I'm in AA. If I don't want to,
Hey,
I can also
hey,
say
Kevin,
something like,
I don't, sorry, Kevin, we don't see your screen. I don't think that you're
sorry.
sharing. Sorry.
All right, good. Well, I'm glad that you told me that. Thank you. Can you see the screen now? Oh, wait a minute. I know.
No,
You got to hit
here
share.
it's coming.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. There it is. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so oh shoot. Sorry guys, 1 second. Okay, so first, why am I here? And I wrote anonymity there because we don't have to break our anonymity. We can simply say, I'm going through a process of my life of cleaning up some things in the past that I'm not proud of, and making some amends really to people that I've harmed. I believe that you're one of those people, and I'd like to sit down and talk to you about that. Now, if I'm setting up the amend, I may say, do you have 10 or 15 minutes at your convenience, whenever it may work for you, to sit down and meet with me on this? Okay. And then when I'm actually there face to face, I'll say, that's why I'm here. I'm here to clear the air about what occurred between us. I need to make amends to people that I've harmed. I'm going through this process in my life right now, and that's what I'd like to talk to you about. Okay. So that's easy. Number 2, how did we harm them? Okay, and we talk about it frankly, as far as we recall and as far as our memory on how we harmed them. Now, we want to tie that to a defect of character, and then we want to also show evidence of change. Okay? Making an amend, as we always say, doesn't mean I apologize to people. It means we fix what was wrong. We fix what we did. Okay? When we amend the Criminal Code of Canada in the House of Commons, they don't all just stand around and apologize to the criminal code. They change the criminal code when they amend it. Okay, that's what amend means. So it's not just when I didn't show up for work, I didn't show up for work. It's when I didn't show up for work, it was very selfish and self-centered and inconsiderate. And I want you to know that today I'm a guy that you can rely on. I'm a man of integrity today, and I show up on time today. Okay. If it's when I stole the money from you, it was incredibly dishonest. I was incredibly dishonest. I was very selfish and inconsiderate, and I was only thinking of myself, and I was living in a lot of fear. And that is, and today I am not the type of man who steals things from people anymore. And here is some of the money that I stole from you. And I would like to make arrangements with you, with your permission, to give you an amount like this every month. It's all I can afford to do, but I'll do the very best I can. And I will be here every month to make that payment if that suits you. Okay? That's the type of thing we want to say. So we explain how we harm them, we tie it to a defect of character, and then we show evidence of change. Okay? So then number 3, are there any other ways that I harmed you? Anything else that I haven't mentioned? Okay? And here, if I listen and I don't debate and I just listen to them and what they say to me, I will get a very important understanding of how my defects of character, my selfishness, my self-centeredness, and my thoughtlessness, and my inconsideration, and my dishonesty has really hurt people if I listen. Okay? And I don't debate, and I don't justify, and I don't say, well, yeah, sure, I did that, but I only did that because you did this other thing. If you wouldn't have done that, wrong. I listen and I keep my mouth shut, and I understand that whatever it is they're saying to me in that moment is the truth for them. Okay? Number 4, what do I need to do to make this right? How can I amend our relationship? What my sponsor told me to tell them is, I am willing to do anything you ask, is what he said. Okay? To be that open about it. To which people always say, well, what if they ask me to do something I'm not willing to do? Number 1, I've done dozens of these myself. I've had hundreds of sponsees use this work. That's never, ever happened a single time ever. And if it does, I simply say, tell them that you need to get back to them on that and come talk to my sponsor. Okay. And they come talk to me about it. Now, this last one, up until I taught this for 14 years. And it was always just those 4 questions. Those 4 questions are what I have always taught. It occurred to me a while ago, though, that step 8, one of the only issues and challenges with step 8 is that I can only make a list of the people that I've harmed that I'm aware of. Okay? I can't necessarily, that doesn't make it a list necessarily of all the people that I've harmed. There may be people that I've harmed that I'm not aware of. And this sponsee of mine went and did this process. He went and did a step 9, and he came back and he said, Kevin, you know, a funny thing, they told me that who I really owed an amend to was this other person. That never occurred to me. And the light bulb went off. I thought, my God, that's it right there. I need to ask that question as well at the end. Is there anyone else you can think of that I should make an amend to, just to help round out that step 8 list? All right, brothers and sisters, that takes us to 7 o'clock. On the nose. We're going to end there. I will pick up with direct versus indirect amends next week before we kick off step 10, which I think will be a fine conversation to have for us to have as well when we're completing, or when we're talking about step 10. That's it. So we're going to end the meeting tonight with the Lord's Prayer. And don't run away, guys, because we're going to also, as we always do, go around the room and introduce ourselves and say hello and let everyone know where you're from. We've got friends joining us from all over the world now, and I want to make sure we all have a chance to say hello. So with that, Brad, we'll end the meeting.